Ladies and gentlemen, we have Tupac. All right, so if you guys have not been hearing lately, there has been a big development about the Tupac Shakur case. Now, if you need a refresher course, Tupac Shakur is a big rapper, and he got in the middle of an intersection. Now, there's a whole bunch of speculation that Suge Knight had something to do with it, that it was because he got into a fight earlier that night. But now, I think 27 years later, we actually have a bit of closure because they found the guy who did it. Now, this shit is crazy. We're going to dive straight into this. Now, remember, it's been almost 3 decades. So it's kind of crazy that they actually found this guy. But like Bruce Rivers always says, stop the self-snitching, bro, because this guy was self-snitching. Let's get straight into this thing.
27 years have gone by, and I'm just so glad to see that someone is finally being held accountable for the murder of Tupac. So I'm just stoked.
A man in custody accused of ordering the murder of rapper Tupac Shakur 27 years ago.
Dwayne Davis was the leader and shot caller of the Southside Compton Crips.
Police say Dwayne Keefe D. Davis ordered the hit on Tupac Shakur. So who is Keefe D? We look at 6 things you need to know about the man accused of ordering the murder of Tupac.
To just think that this guy was living this whole time probably in LA, just living life, all the tributes to Tupac, all the songs made about Tupac, all this, all that. Bro, you must feel like a piece of shit at the end of the day. I feel like it. Or he feels like the man, one or the other. But like that's it's crazy how you could just continue living life thinking that you're going to be free forever, and then all of a sudden 3 decades later you get arrested for this shit. That is crazy.
Welcome to Law and Crime Sidebar Podcast. I'm Anjanette Levy. Tupac Shakur's family and his fans have been waiting 27 years for someone to be held accountable in Tupac's murder. That day is now here. Dwayne Davis, whose street name is Keefe D, faces a charge of open murder with a deadly weapon and a gang enhancement in Tupac's murder on September 7th, 1996. Keefe D is a member of the Southside Compton Crips. Some people say he's actually a gang leader. Suge Knight and Tupac Shakur were affiliated with the Bloods.
Tupac Shakur was an artist who was signed with Death Row Records. And that Death Row Records and its CEO, Marion Suge Knight, were closely affiliated with the Mob Piru criminal street gangs, and that they had an ongoing feud with the Southside Compton Crips. Dwayne Davis was the leader and shot caller of the...
Think about this grandpa being the leader and shot caller of the Crips. Like, come on, that's crazy. It's crazy how Father Time will get you. You feel like you're this big bad guy. Now you're somebody's grandpa and you're going to jail. You lived that life decades ago and it caught up to you. Ain't that a bitch? Because he ain't about that life right now. He's trying to smoke a blunt on the porch with the grandson, talk about life and shit. Now Mr. Keefe D is going to have to click up with people in jail now to survive. Because guess what? You're a Crip for life. Now you're going to the pen. Politics, brother. Get ready for them.
Southside Compton Crips.
On September 7th, Keefe D, his nephew Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, Terrence Brown, and DeAndre Smith were all in Las Vegas.
It's crazy how all those men are dead, bro. All of them are dead except for him. And it's his nephew, so I'm assuming his nephew was younger, dead. We have DeAndre Smith, dead. All of them, just out here.
Lane Anderson, Terrence Brown, and DeAndre Smith were all in Las Vegas. So were Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight. The group encountered one another at the MGM Grand during the Mike Tyson fight. Tupac jumped Orlando Anderson over an old beef. Then he, Suge Knight, and their entourage left the casino for a party elsewhere. That's when the plan to kill Tupac took shape, according to Las Vegas Metro Police.
Dwayne Davis began to devise a plan to obtain a firearm and retaliate against Suge Knight and Mr. Shakur for what occurred inside the hotel against Mr. Anderson. After Davis obtained a gun, he entered into a white Cadillac along with Terrence Brown, DeAndre Smith, and Orlando Anderson. Based on our investigation,
they came in to do a hit for sure. This is some real back in the day drive-by at the light type shit right here. You can't do this shit no more. But I feel like back then, clearly, you could have gotten away with it. Imagine doing that in the middle of the night. I mean, there's cars around. You blast the biggest man on the planet, right? You get him, and you get away with that. And the only reason you get to go to jail is because you opened your mouth. Stupid, bro. Stupid.
This is where we know they were seated.
The first officer on scene that night was Chris Carroll. He held Tupac in his arms and asked him who shot him.
So I was asking him, what happened? Who shot you? Who did this? And he for the first time, he's kind of acknowledging my presence, and he's looking in my eyes, and I'm looking at his, and I could tell he's trying to get a breath together because he's having a very hard time breathing. And he looks at me and he opened his mouth and he said, "F you." And after he said it, he kind of gurgled and coughed. His eyes rolled back. He lost consciousness. So that would be the last thing that he ever said in his life.
Wow. Hey, if there's one thing that was a gangster response. Fuck you. That's crazy, bro. I mean, I guess if you know you're gonna die, might as well not go out a snitch, I guess. I mean, that's, my thought process wouldn't really be there, but to each his own.
Tupac Shakur died days later after being taken off life support. Suge Knight stuck to the no snitching street code, but Knight knew exactly who fired at them from a white Cadillac. With no one talking, police said they couldn't make an arrest. But years later, Keefe D would find himself in a jam because of his drug dealing. He would confess to his role in the killing of Tupac Shakur, but the confession was called a proffer and couldn't be used to prosecute him.
So Orlando shot across Dre?
He leaned over on the window, he rolled down the window, popped.
Keefe D's proffer was played in the documentary Murder Rap. That was the first time the public heard it. Keefe D laid out in detail what happened that night and why to LAPD Detective Greg Kading and others. I spoke with Greg Kading about Keefe D being indicted all of these years later.
It's crazy how we all knew who did it. It's crazy. But I think because he did that proffer and they couldn't indict him with it, I feel like he started doing other interviews and started talking more, feeling like he was kind of like immune to anything that would come his way. And clearly that was not the case. Clearly, because he's gone on DJ Vlad talking crazy shit. He's gone on certain interviews talking all types of shit. So it led me to believe, like, is everybody cool with this, including law enforcement? But now we understand he had a proffer. But I don't think that means you could just tell more detail. They could still indict you for that.
I'm just elated. Thank you for having me, first of all. It's been a long time coming. I mean, better late than never, they say, but holy smokes, it's 27 years have gone by, and I'm just so glad to see that someone is finally being held accountable for the murder of Tupac. So I'm just stoked.
How big of a gang leader or what have you was Keefe D in Compton? Because I've heard people say he's a gang leader. Some people laugh when you call him a leader of the South Compton Crips. I mean, how big of a deal was he, or was he just kind of like a blowhard?
He was relevant because he was dealing a lot of dope. And because he had a lot of dope, he had a lot of money. Because he had a lot of money, he had influence. So it was just those things. But he is a bit of a blowhard. He's not like his nephew Orlando, who was the actual gunman who killed Tupac. That was a serious committed gangster who was a killer. Keefe D is a little bit more of a figurehead, so to speak. And he's definitely a legend in his own mind, but all things considered, he's not who he presents himself to be in the sense of this big, dangerous, infamous gangster.
I mean, you could look at him and tell he's like kind of soft. Like, I'm not even saying like I could beat him up or anything, but he just looks soft. Like, if you're in that type of world and you see Keefe D come up with his pudgy cheeks like, "What's up, bro?" everything good, bro? Like, man, if you don't get your fucking pudgy cheeks up out of here, weird ass looking, like, I don't know. He just, yeah, the Keefe D, I could tell he's not really, really about it. And all those other people who are now deceased, they were probably more about it than him, because where are they now? In the dirt. So, you know what I mean?
As I mentioned, Keefe D told Greg Kading the entire story about what happened the night Tupac was murdered in the proffer that could not be used in court. From the fight at the MGM Grand to the shooting of Tupac and Suge Knight in the black BMW. Kading said it was frustrating to see someone confess to murder, but unable to take the case to court.
There's, you've heard the phrase before. It's not what you know, it's what you can prove. And we couldn't use his self-incriminating confession back in 2009, but because of that, he had this false perception that he had immunity.
What did I tell you guys? I swear I didn't watch this video ahead of time. I told you. I swear they probably did that proffer to be like, hey, watch him fuck up. Watch him feel like, they probably even told him like off paperwork, like, oh yeah, now, you told us everything we need to know. It can't be used against you, so have a nice life, do some interviews if you feel like it. Like, get lit, talk to some strippers about it. Like, talk to everybody about it, bro. Go viral. How about go viral about it, That's crazy. My boy got super comfortable.
And so he began to go out and boast publicly about his role in the murder. And that's not protected. That can all be used against him. So in essence, he talked himself right into jail. And so to see his confession being brought to light, his involvement being brought to light, and then his arrest and pending prosecution being pending, that I'm so glad to see history finally getting set straight. This is not an unsolved murder. It has just been an unprosecuted murder.
Crazy.
Orlando Anderson was killed in 1998. The other passengers in that vehicle are also dead. This all begs the question, if police have had a confession that couldn't be used in court for all of these years, how can Keefe D now be prosecuted? The answer is quite simple, according to law enforcement.
Who shot Tupac?
The Keeper for the cold of the streets. It just came from the back seat, bro.
Look how I'm smiling. I'm gonna keep it for the streets. It just came from the back seat, bro. No, you could tell Keefe D gets smacked around like a bitch around the streets. Like, come on, bro. The only type of rep he has is that on the streets, he was in the car with the people who killed Tupac. That's it. He's been riding off that for years, probably. And he felt like just because he did a proffer, you could say anything, bro? Nah, dog.
Simple, according to law enforcement.
Who shot Tupac?
The Keeper for the cold of the streets. It just came from the back seat, bro.
Keefe D did a lot of talking about that night after his release from prison on drug charges.
Mr. Davis's own words reinvigorated our case in 2018.
Had he not confessed to us, and then we made that confession public when I published the book and the documentary came out, and so we basically exposed it all as to what took place in the investigation and what his involvement was in Biggie's murder. But if you understand the ego of Keefe D, he resented that somebody else was telling the story other than him. And so that whole thing prompted him to then go out and publicly boast about his involvement. So yeah, one thing kind of led to another, but that foundation of the original confession, everything in motion.
Last July, Las Vegas Metro Police executed a search warrant at Keefe D's home in Henderson, Nevada.
Face the house, slowly walk back towards the sound of my voice. You're doing good.
Hey, if they have the dog out, bro, listen to every fucking word he says. And say, yes, massa. No, I'm playing. Nah, you hear the dog, bro, you either run like you are never getting caught, and I mean you are not getting caught. If you take off, my boy, you're not getting caught. That's option number one. But if you know you cannot outrun that canine, sit your ass down and pray they don't release him, because those dogs will chew you up like some chicken bones, bro. They don't play.
Appreciate your cooperation.
Word started to spread that a grand jury had been impaneled to investigate Tupac Shakur's murder. But as the weeks passed, hope started to fade that anything would come of it.
I literally texted my old partner this morning before I'd heard anything about, prior to any of this breaking news about the arrest. And I literally texted my old partner, Darren Dupree, this morning and said, what in the hell is taking so long? And the next text I get is actually from Mike Dorsey going, hey, they just arrested him.
Damn.
So
Wow.
it was just, there did seem to be a real delay there. But I think that they were being strategic and making sure that they got everybody locked into their grand jury testimony so that they can utilize that later if necessary. So hopefully they've got all their I's dotted and T's crossed and they're ready to go and see where this heads next.
Keefe D also wrote about the night of Tupac Shakur's murder in his self-published book, Compton Street Legend.
Bro, this man was trying anything to make a buck off of the clout of killing Tupac. Like, bro, do something else with your life. Self-written Keefe D. What does that mean? He smoked a lot of Keefe? What's Keefe D mean? Weirdo.
Keefe D wrote in the book that he tossed the Glock in the back seat and made eye contact with Suge Knight. Knight was driving a black BMW. Tupac was in the passenger seat. Keefe D wrote, like two rams locking horns, Suge and I looked each other dead in the eye. The terrified expression on Suge's face read, damn them N-words. One of my guys from the back.
I like Anjanette Levy. Damn them N-words. Shout out Anjanette Levy, bro. She the shit.
Back seat grabbed the Glock and started busting back.
Busting back.
He said.
I love this woman. She's so cool. I fuck with her. It's hilarious. She's so proper.
He and Suge Knight knew one another from Compton.
One thing about this, he has been on YouTube and some other outlets basically saying, I hate the way that went down, things of that nature. I think he said that, he liked Tupac's music, and it's almost like he was speaking regretfully that this had happened. But he's now accused of being the person who ordered the hit. Do you think he really does regret that? I mean, he seemed to be living a pretty nice life in Henderson, Nevada.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I was just gonna say that he was living a pretty decent life, bro. My guy had that crib, the garages, the cars, like whatever he was doing, man. If the clout was working, it was working. Game is game. Like, but hey, you ended up in jail, so was it worth it? You won, but at what cost?
No, I don't think he has true regret like you and I might have regret. He doesn't carry that same type of remorse. He doesn't have that same type of regard for human life. So no, I don't think that he has that type of regret. In fact, when we interviewed him, and he said after the shooting, after they'd shot Tupac, they went and parked the car and they were heading back to their hotel. They're at an intersection, and the ambulance was coming by that was rushing Tupac to the hospital, and him and his friends were just laughing about it.
Damn.
So no, I don't think that he has any.
I mean, you're in the moment, the adrenaline. You trust me, all right. These guys are not fucking robots, okay? I don't know what he's talking about. What was he? He's a former investigator. He should know this, okay? They're hardened criminals, whatever. They're laughing. They're in the moment. They just blasted a platinum selling star. In the moment, heart racing. It's funny to you, okay? Cool. You don't think he has nightmares every fucking night? You don't think that stuff bothers them? You don't think all those people before they died had nightmares running through their head? The look on Tupac's face, the look on Suge's face, even though Suge lived. Yeah, they're going through it. Trust me. Keefe D at this age, with the amount of money he had, with the things that was going on in life, with the hate he had for Tupac, maybe it didn't bother him that much. But trust me, those nightmares come around.
Remorse. I think it's time has finally come for him to answer for his sins.
Aside from Keefe D, there's only one other witness who's still alive who knows what happened that night. It's Suge Knight, who's serving a 28.
Damn it, I said Tupac. Suge Knight, baby. Man, the last time they had Suge Knight in jail, he was falling out because of the damn prison sentence.
Your prison sentence for running a man down and killing him in Compton.
Suge Knight has credibility issues. He's in prison for a really long time. Do we possibly hear from Suge Knight at some point about this?
I would be absolutely shocked if Suge Knight was ever brought into court as a witness. He's completely unbelievable. He's not credible, and he's not going to, from prison, become a rat. You know, he's not going to take the stand and testify against somebody else and then go back to his prison cell in general population. So no, he will not. I don't think we're going to see any of Suge Knight in regards to this trial.
What is clear, Dwayne Keefe D. Davis is sitting in a Las Vegas jail cell where he's being held without bail.
I'm just, history has finally been set.
Yeah, it's kind of like the history books kind of closed on that one. It kind of like the book ended because I was just like, man, those guys, they just shot him. Nobody really knew. I guess the streets knew. The streets always knew. But the civilians and some other people, we didn't know, man. We didn't know who did it. And it's kind of interesting to see that all these years later, it's like it was going in slow motion. All these years later, he gets arrested.
Correct. You know, now it's no longer from the public perspective an unsolved case. You know, now we can close it. Tupac can rest in peace, and we can move on. And now we know that that mystery's been solved.
Dwayne Davis will appear in court Wednesday morning in Las Vegas for an arraignment. At that time, he will enter a plea to the charges and a trial date could be set. And I will be there, and I will bring you the very latest from Las Vegas. That's it for this edition.
That was wild, y'all. That was crazy. So think about that. They said for 9 years they knew who killed Tupac, while general population did not know. The streets probably knew. People who, the ones who knew, those people knew. But it's like, damn, what took so long? Well, anyways, people, that was, some breaking news that kind of popped out on me a couple days ago. Finally got to cover it here today with you guys. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think there was like a motive for them not closing the case that soon, or they just didn't have enough evidence? I don't know. But until the next one, people, I love you guys. You're so amazing. I think I'm going to be changing areas soon. So look out for a new studio setup. Until the next one, people, stay inside, stay safe. I'm out of here.